Hello, I'm really excited to be here at the Boyd Community Garden with Autumn, who works for VEGI or Valley Educational Gardens Initiative. And we are here to learn about composting and how VEGI uses decomposers to help them build their soil and grow vegetables.
Hey everyone! So we're here at Boyd Community Garden and we're next to our compost piles. Compost is really just organic material that has gone through a process and broken down to become really nutritional soil that you can add to your soil. So our compost pile here is a mixture of greens and browns. So our greens are things that are pretty high in nitrogen, and then the browns are things that are high in carbon. Greens are things like table scraps, like vegetable scraps. Browns would be things like straw or leaves, those sorts of things. So in your pile, you just need to have a balance of those two, and it doesn't have to be exact. We don't like measure out what ratio we have exactly. But then once you pile your things together, your greens and browns, you want to water them pretty frequently, especially in this climate. It's very dry. So we add water 1 to 2 times a week. The other thing you want to do is turn your compost. So really letting that air in is important. And the reasons you want to add water and air are because your compost is a living thing. So once it is alive, there's like all kinds of life in there. Bacteria, fungi, all these sorts of things that work to break down the matter in the compost. So these decomposers are a crucial part of the compost, and if you don't have water or air, then they can't breathe, they can't live. So it's super important to keep your compost wet and to add air to it. So, like I was saying, the compost is a living, breathing thing. When you look at this, you might just see a pile of like chaos. But if you really dig in here with the pitchfork, even just a little bit, you can see that there's compost already in here. And it's wet and it's warm. That's another big thing for compost, is you want it to get really warm, and that's how you know it's active. So yeah, deep in here, we already have some things breaking down among the plant matter. And then this right here is some compost that we've been screening. So, you know, we've screened out a lot of the plant matter, and then you're left with this beautiful, rich smelling compost that we then add to our garden beds, and it feeds the soil where the plants live, and then those plants take up the important nutrients from the compost and become healthier for us to eat. So compost is a really vital part of keeping the soils alive, that we grow our food in, and having our vegetables and the foods that we eat be super healthy. We've been working on this pile, all summer, but it probably took like a month to start to be able to screen out the compost. And that's because we were watering it and turning it so frequently. So if you do that weekly, bi-weekly, or weekly or 2 times a week, you're gonna have compost pretty quickly. If you do it less frequently, it won't break down as quickly. So just know that. But yeah, it's actually such an easy thing to do, and everyone should do it. So here is a row of kale, which is still growing at this time of year, which is awesome. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we use our compost in our garden. So at the beginning of the growing season in the spring, we add a couple inches of compost to our garden bed here, and then we turn it into the soil. We use a tool called a broad fork, which aerates the soil. And once again, introducing that compost and aerating the soil helps to keep that life in the soil that is being introduced by the compost. So we're really in the spring waking the soil up, getting that life activity back in there, and really hoping to have healthy soil so we can have healthy plants like this kale.